Hi everyone, welcome back to Fairview. This is going to be my first ever layout tour and 2020 review of the progress I've made. So come on in and I hope you enjoy the show. So I thought we could begin with a look at a track plan of my layout. Fairview measures 14 feet by 8 feet. Not perhaps quite as big as I would have liked because I really wanted to have a layout where I could do serious rail fanning as well as switching operations. But I was heavily influenced by some of the books by Pelle Seaborg, who catalogued his Daneville layouts, and he seemed to be able to get the best of both worlds, and that's really when I decided to take the plunge and start building Fairview. It's a proto-freelanced layout set in Colorado, right on the edge of the Rockies, and I'm imagining that the town lies northwest of Denver, roughly in the location of Layden on the Moffat Tunnel subdivision. I don't quite want it to be right in that position, so I'm changing things a little bit. I'm temporarily at least calling it the Flatirons subdivision, and I'm still working on exactly how this imagined town fits into the Colorado railroading scene, but I'm happy so far. So let's follow a train around the layout. We enter Fairview by passing under the I-93 freeway, and as we come into the outskirts of the town, we start to see the town centre, of course, and on the left the passing siding and the small yard, which just allows through freights to drop off and pick up a few cars. We have a scrap dealer here in town, a small transload facility, and at the moment at least an ADM corn syrup facility. In front of us now we see Rocky Mountain Manufacturing, and as we leave the town centre behind we pass through a suburb to the south of the town called Stanton. Here we see a little retail area and some residential streets before we cross over my drop bridge and head into the area which is currently the staging yard and all tracks south, north, east and west of Fairview itself. At the moment the staging area here has to serve a multitude of purposes. At one level, it simply allows me to set up the various through services here, the freights and intermodal services and so on. But it's currently doubling too as the imagined location of a couple more industries serving Fairview. It's the location of a spur to an industrial park, and there's going to be a cement plant, one north and one south of the town. In the longer term, I'd love to have a larger railway room, in which case I'd extend out to the left-hand side of the plan here, out to the south of Fairview, to include a representation of the famous Big Ten Loop, which is the start of the tunnel district on the Moffat sub and the climb into the Rockies. I'd really like then to use that to create a continuous climb up to an upper deck, which at some point would magically turn into the Canadian Rockies. But of course, that's all a bit of a pipe dream just at the moment. All right, let's turn to a review of the progress I've made over the last 12 months. And considering how much of the year has been blighted by coronavirus, I work in a university, so things have been really tough since, well, late January really. So actually I'm quite pleased with the progress I've made. Early in the year, I was working on this module of British Columbia. This is, in my mind at least, the area of Eagle Pass just outside Revelstoke in British Columbia. But when I realised that I had some challenges in terms of how to achieve my second deck, I moved on to other projects. One major setback this year came in May when I was working on this area and experienced an incident which I'm now calling the Wall Street crash. I was fixing those first sections of the back scene that you can see there, and I leaned a little bit too far and I lost my balance, and as I tried to stop myself, I crashed straight through the benchwork and took pretty much the whole of this corner with me. Luckily, the models, the street diorama, all survived pretty much unscathed, so I was able to rescue everything, and of course then rebuilt the benchwork and managed to get everything back under control, but it was a close run thing. And since then, I've concentrated on getting this end of the layout finished, resolving some issues with track work. I've been adding extra feeds and starting to modify the switches in this area to make them more DCC friendly. And I've worked really hard on the scenicking of the south end, the Wall Street area, created the Eldora retail space, the Rocky Mountain manufacturing plant, have all been completed during the course of the year. There's still more scenery to finish, but I've read before in Model Railroader about the idea of modelling to a good enough standard, getting any given area ready to the point where you're satisfied for now, then you can move on to other parts of the layout and come back later to add extra detail. And I'm embracing that concept, so I'm happy with how I've got on. So there you go, guys. Real progress this year. I'm very pleased with how I've got on and feel that 2021 is going to be a year when I can push on and get the layout basically finished to a decent standard at least. There's plenty to do, of course. High on my list of priorities for 2021 is to continue modifying the turnouts for more reliable operation, and I really need to get to grips with speed matching my locos because I don't feel I'm doing that particularly well at the moment. As for track work and operational stuff, I'm hoping to incorporate a longer, lower level staging yard down here. I need far more space, particularly for my intermodal trains and my coal trains, and of course I should have built this concept into my plan right from the very beginning, but in a sense this layout's all about learning these lessons and just cracking on and getting a layout finished. So I'll just take that lesson. It's going to be much harder to do this work now compared to if I had done it from the beginning. Finally, there's two big areas that I want to expand on next year. first off, I think it's time to start developing the upper level, the Canadian Rockies section, just as a single track DC only part of my layout with no physical connection between upper and lower at the moment. Although sometimes I like running Canadian Pacific or Canadian National trains through Fairview, at which point it turns into a town like Revelstoke in British Columbia. But certainly I'd like to spend more time having a go at some of the more landscaped and scenic areas that would come with that upper deck. The other big idea, which I want to give you a sneak preview of here now, is to branch out in a whole new direction, or rather to go back to something I worked on quite a while ago. Modelling Fairview these last 2 or 3 years has really helped me to get my model railway mojo back. So I've decided that 2021 is also going to be the year where my Saw Valley Railway rises from the ashes. My G-gauge garden railway. And it's been rather neglected over the past few years. But I really want to now get to grips with it, tidy it up, and start posting some updates about that layout too. All right, that pretty much wraps things up for my layout tour and review of 2020. I've had a sneak preview as well of the projects that I want to try and get into in 2021, and I really hope you've enjoyed sharing this time with me. If you did, and if you'd like to see more in 2021, please like and subscribe so that you can keep an eye on my progress throughout the next 12 months. I want to just take a moment to thank those of you who've been following me during 2020, if you've subscribed, and especially if you've posted comments and advice. I've really appreciated that. I want to wish you all a really blessed and happy Christmas time, however you choose to spend the holiday period. And I really hope that we can all enjoy a healthy and much more positive 2021 with loads of time spent running trains. Thanks very much, and take care, guys.